Some see Chinese philosophy as nothing more than a tradition of fables and parables. But those who have studied deeply will testify that Chinese philosophy is a sea from which a lot of importance can be drawn. In particular, they say that a person who studies philosophy, based on traditional Chinese history, will be able to discover the secret of the origin of religions. From Confucius to Lao Tzu and other philosophers, if they say that we may not understand their philosophical ideas, it is because the Chinese have never understood their own philosophy properly, and they accept this publicly. However, we see them as our starting point in their position on the renewal of things. In short, in Chinese philosophy, everything that happened will be answered in its own time, and will happen again. Meaning all that happens will happen once more, in due course, in its proper season. According to the English historian, a philosopher of history, and a research professor of international history, Arnold Toynbee, just as everything that is thrown up must come back, so there is something to go and return in the process of human life. Don't think that the stone you threw into the sky will come back and land on the earth. It is something that you can pick up again and throw away if you want. Therefore, you should understand that the resting of the stone on the earth is temporary and not eternal. Lao Tzu adds here, the way up and down is the same. That is why we make a farmer our good example. Farmer's work and nature are connected and inseparable. He understands the philosophy of returning to the farmer. When it rains, winter comes. When the sun comes, it's summer. When the rain disappears, drought is coming. He knows how to alternate. He mentions the two basic philosophical forces, yin and yang. Yin and yang are not only natural phenomena, but also effectively control human life. The people who are classified in these categories do not set boundaries by saying that there is a difference between man and nature. Man is a part of nature. He is in nature, and nature is in him. Yin and yang also represent the integration of man with nature. It is on this basis that we explore China's two fundamental philosophical ideas, Confucianism and Taoism. In this video essay, we explore only Confucius's philosophical ideas known as Confucianism. Unlike Taoism, which emphasizes the natural way, Confucianism emphasizes the social way. Confucianism is a social code based on morality rather than laws. Confucius elaborated this as, if you govern by regulations, and keep them in order by punishment, the people will avoid trouble but have no sense of shame. If you govern them by moral influence, and keep them in order by a code of manners, they will have a sense of shame, and will come to you of their own accord. Confucianism emphasizes the importance of precedents and universal truths articulated by past sages, and emphasizes self-improvement. The two main tenets of Confucianism are these. Zhong, based on the Chinese characters combining heart and middle, meaning loyalty to oneself and one's inner humanity, and Shu, to cherish the heart, as if it were its owner. Confucius believed people should look to the past to gain insight into how to behave, and said virtuous men should follow the examples of the great ancestors. The Analects outlined the four basic concepts of Confucian thought. Benevolence, love of humanity, and the virtues of the superior man, or Zhen. Second, moderation in all things, or Cheng Yang, and harmony with nature, or Tian. Third, filial propriety, duty in the rules that define good social relationships, or Li. And finally, the rectification of names, or recognizing the nature of things, by giving them their right names, or Chengming. Similar to Socrates, Confucius did not transmit his philosophical works in writing. Especially the philosophical ideas were written down by his students, and they have reached here through the ages. One of Confucius' greatest endeavors throughout his life was the study of ancient Chinese history, bringing it alive to his generation. In this way, the study contributed a great part to the revival of ancient Chinese literature, and even served as a textbook to be passed down from generation to generation. Confucius was not interested in individual salvation or individual rights. What he cared about most was the collective well-being of society. He promoted virtues such as courtesy, selflessness, obedience, respect, diligence, communal obligation, working for a common good, social harmony, and empathy. The code of behavior he described was based on a system of harmonious, subordinate relationships based on the notions of filial piety, a well-ordered person, a well-ordered family, a well-ordered state, and a well-ordered world. Dr. Robert Eno of Indiana University wrote, "Social patterns that express the perspective of true humanity have been embroidered in the past by successive great sages, inspired by heaven, of whom the latest were the founders of the Xiao dynasty. These heaven-ordained patterns constituted a complex set of social, political, and religious conventions and ceremonies known as ritual, in Chinese, Li. These rituals, which covered both everyday and ceremonial conduct, were no longer properly practiced in the chaotic society of Confucius's time, and after the classical era. Restoring these patterns of Chinese civilization was the practical path back to the ideal society." Confucians stressed that a person's worth is determined by public actions. The concept of Li defines a set of social relationships and clearly described how people are supposed to behave towards one another. Fealty in Confucian terms takes 5 forms. 1. Subject to ruler. 2. Son to father or daughter to mother. 3. Younger brother to older brother, or younger sister to older sister. 4. Wife to husband, woman to man, and 5. Younger person to older person. Under the concept of Li, the dominate person receives respect and obedience from the subordinate person, but is by no means a dictator. He is supposed to reciprocate with love, goodwill, support, and affection towards the subordinate person. Under Confucian leadership, crimes were often dealt with by ostracism and humiliation, rather than physical punishment. The Confucian code of subordinate relationships also extended to professions, with scholars at the top, peasant farmers in the middle, and artisans and merchants at the bottom. Let's end this essay by one dialogue of Confucius with his students. One day he was asked by his students, "How do we know whether a man is great or not?" He replied by saying, "The greatness of a great man is defined by his actions, not by his words."